Hey guys, this is Smithy. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to talk about all eyeshadow palettes that are like appropriate for Valentine's Day because Valentine's Day is right around the corner and there are a lot of new releases that are coming in the market which are like very pinky, purpley tones. So I thought I am right now making a point that I'm not going to buy any more like new palettes, especially if I have those shades already available in my collection. So I thought of sharing my picks and telling you guys about the eyeshadow palettes that I already have in my collection, which would be very similar to the new releases. So if you are ready, let's begin. The first eyeshadow palette that I have to recommend to you guys is Laura Lee Los Angeles Nudie 2 palette. Now I feel like this is a very underrated palette. The shades are so beautiful, they're so sparkly, and these two topper shades that you're seeing here, they are like unlike other, I would say. I have this topper shade all across my lid today and rest everything is from another palette, but even the mattes, the shimmers, everything is like so very beautiful. Let me just swatch a few shades so that you understand what I'm talking about. So let me just swatch a few. Where did I even watch? They're so shimmery, they're so shiny, and the quality is also amazing. Like if it was not on a good quality, I would have said no myself. But this is definitely an amazing quality that I don't think like many people on YouTube are even talking about. And I think it's because it's like a small indie brand and a lot of PR packages are not floating around. So I think that's why people are not like talking about it, but definitely worth talking about. Such a beautiful palette, especially for Valentine's Day. If you like those mauvey pinky tones, you're gonna absolutely love this. I love it. Let's talk about the next eyeshadow palette that I have to talk about. Now, if you guys are not into like big palettes, I think this would be absolutely apt for you. And I'm talking about the Natasha Denona's Mini Love palette. Now I know this year Natasha Denona did come out with like Mini Crush palette. I actually did like my Valentine's Day look inspired by the Mini Crush palette using this and the Natasha Denona Coral palette. I feel like if you have those two palettes, I think you can probably dupe the Natasha Denona new Mini Crush palette. I personally feel that this palette can definitely give you more variety as compared to the Mini Crush palette. And I love the fact that it goes from like a very light pale shade to like a very deep dark smoky shade. Love it. Like it has a duochrome, it has two matte, one inner corner highlight shade or a brow bone highlight shade and like a pinky shimmer. This can take you to places. You can like create very simple everyday look by using just both of these shadows, and then you can like bring it to like a smoky evening look by using this duochrome, or you can completely make it like a mauvey look by using these two shades, or you can completely take it to a pinky look by using this shade. Like the variety is absolutely gorgeous. I think this was definitely a well curated palette for Natasha Denona's line altogether. So I highly would recommend this. Now talking about Natasha Denona's eyeshadow palettes, if that is not in your budget, then definitely take a look into Alter Ego. And this is Alter Ego Blooms palette, which is actually a dupe for Natasha Denona's Love palette. This is also such a beautiful color story. I mean, if you have the original Natasha Denona Love palette, I mean, you do not need the dupe, but I would say this is also such a beautiful palette. I think the only dud shade out of this palette is this purple shade, but otherwise everything else is very beautiful, very pinky purpley tone, I would say. So I would highly recommend this. You can definitely replicate all the looks from the Natasha Denona Love palette using the Alter Ego Blooms palette. So I definitely wanted to recommend this palette too for Valentine's Day. Now the next palette that I have to talk about, I have quickly fallen in love with this palette. And this is not a palette that I like quickly grabbed as soon as it was released. This came out like last year in my collection, but I cannot stop using it. And this is Mercury Retrograde palette from Huda Beauty. This is such a beautiful color story. I love the shimmers, the mattes, the toppery shades. Everything is so gorgeous. Like I love the variety of looks that you can create using this palette. I actually have done like a 5 look using this palette already on my channel. So if you guys have not checked that out, I will link it in the iCards above for you guys to check it out. But let me give you a little bit of tea. Since I think you guys have noticed, like Natasha Denona new pastel palette leaked out in the Instagram, and she actually took it off all the reposts that was made through Instagram. I personally feel if you do have Mercury Retrograde palette and the Glam Light Dirty Martini palette, you can definitely replicate a lot of those shades that were there in the Natasha Denona pastel palette. I would do a dedicated dupe video when that launches. If you guys are interested, definitely do leave it down in the comment section below. But I personally feel, I was like doing my dupe duties, but I personally feel that if you have this and the Glam Light Dirty Martini palette, I think you definitely have that palette in your hand. So yeah, I highly would recommend that. Now the next palette that I have to talk about is from Sigma, and this is the Sigma Cordurosa palette. I personally feel that this is such a beautiful color story for Valentine's Day. It definitely has those corals and those pinky tones, but you can also take it like into a very neutral tone by using these golds and these like off-whites and browns. It's beautiful, and the quality is also absolutely stunning. I definitely use these palettes while traveling or while going to office and all. I love it. I absolutely love it. This again is like a well curated palette, I would say, which goes from like a very pale shade up till a very deep dark shade. Those are the palettes that I really like when the variety is given to the audience. So I would highly recommend this for Valentine's Day. The next palette is again for the people who do not like big palettes, but this is also such a well curated palette. I could not stop using this from the time it came into my collection, and I'm talking about the Nablus Wild Berry palette. I waited a long time to grab this, and I grabbed this for a sale price. I would say it was like 50% off or something. This is stunning even at full price, I would say. I love the variety that this palette gives. This duochrome shade that shifts to like a pink to a blue. I hope you can see that. That is beautiful. The new Glam Light palette, I think I'm giving all the tea in this video. The new Glam Light palette, what is that called? I think it's called the Lava Cake, which they are doing in collaboration with Kisses. Only the first palette has been released. By the time I'm recording this video, I feel like the looks that are there in that palette, I'll pop a picture on the screen, can be very well achieved by using this palette. So I would highly recommend this, especially the mattes. I think that's like dead on dupes. So I would highly recommend that. Let me just swatch a few shades for you guys so that you know what I'm talking about. I absolutely am a big fan of like Nabla mattes, especially because they're like well comparable to like Natasha Denona's mattes, like the creamy matte formulas. I absolutely love. Like, look at those shades. It's so dimensional, it's so spectacular, and the range is also absolutely gorgeous. Even though you're just getting like 6 shades, but it can take to like very simple everyday day appropriate looks to like a very glam nighttime smoky looks. I love it. I absolutely love it. Now 2 more eyeshadow palettes to talk about. Now both of these eyeshadow palettes, I would say they're more of like bigger palettes, so you can create like a plethora amount of looks, I would say. The first one that I have to talk about is Pat McGrath's Celestial Odyssey palette. Have you guys forgotten about it? I certainly have not, and I actually used this palette to create my eye look today. I basically used this shade all over my crease, and then I deepened it out with this shade in my inner and the outer corners, and I used this shade in the inner corner of my eye, and I used that Laura Lee Los Angeles Topper shade right in the center of my eye look, and that is my eye look. But you can create again so many looks using this palette. I mean, Valentine's Day is not the only occasion where you can create these looks. You can definitely go like smoky, sultry. There's like a duochrome shade, which is like my favorite, which shifts from like a bronze to a pink. I love it. This green shade is stunning. This aqua blue shade is absolutely gorgeous. Obviously, Pat McGrath is known for a pink shadow, so there's a plethora of pinks here that is included. But yeah, everything that has been like curated for this palette, I think it's very nice. And obviously it's Pat McGrath, so it's not cheap or anything. but she does have a lot of sales. I don't know if you can find it right now or not, but because it was like last year's holiday palette. But I would highly recommend, if you guys do have this palette, definitely take it out for Valentine's Day. I think you would absolutely love it. Now the last palette, certainly not the least, that I have to talk about is Abh Norvina 5 palette. Now I think when people think about this palette, they think about like pastels and like spring, just because of that pastel lilac shade of the palette. But I personally feel these pinky purpley mauvey but I personally feel these pinky purpley mauvey tones are so gorgeous for Valentine's Day, especially if you're not big on pinks. I think you would absolutely love it, especially if you like purples. This palette can go from like mauvey looks. So if you stay in this 6th corner, you can create like such beautiful mauvey tone looks. Very, very similar to what I have on my eyes today. If you stay in this 6th quad, you can create like more of lilac pastel-y kind of looks. But if you stay in this, it's more of a cool tone purpley look. And then you can go like on the pinky route or like smoky, deep dark smoky eye looks. I think this is the best purple palette that I have in my collection, and I love my purples so very much. And this is like a big palette. It's a heavy palette, but the quality is top notch. So let me swatch a few shades for you guys. Oh my god, because why will I not? And you can see like the quality that I'm talking about. Like it's so beautiful that you need it. Like you absolutely need it. Like look at the shine and the dimension and the blendability. Oh my god, this is beautiful. The moment I open this palette, I want to use it. It's just that I don't want to be replicated on this YouTube channel. But if this was like not my part-time job, I would have used that palette all day, every day. Like I love Anastasia's quality, and I personally feel like I'm a big Anastasia fan. I do own a lot of her palettes in my collection, but I personally feel that this is like top-notch quality in her line. This and Sultry, I would say, is like my top favorites. I love it. I absolutely love it. So those were my picks for Valentine's Day. Definitely do let me know which are the palettes that I'm missing in my collection or I should have included. If you have been following my channel for a long time, you know what I have. I actually have like a full eyeshadow palette collection video on my channel. I'll link it in the iCards above for you guys to check it out if you are getting bored and if you want like a long and a lengthy video to watch. But these were my picks for Valentine's Day. If you did like this video, do give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and ring that notification bell so that you're notified every time that I post next. I generally upload 3 videos every single week, every Mondays, Thursdays and Saturdays at 9 AM Eastern Standard Time. Until next time, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys!